They've got to get to the 20. Can they get to the 20? Hurts. Barkley to his left. Slot to the near side. Wing to the near side. Hurts. Barkley. First down. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! Barkley! There it is. 23-yard explosion.
That's the one they needed. Again, the offensive line taking over at the line of scrimmage, and you can see the little tunnel they created off the right side for Saquon Barkley.
Hurts under center. He goes with a pitch to Barkley. Barkley across the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10. Goodbye!
Hello.
Another one.
Hello.
40 yards. 40 yards.
He's unbelievable. And, you know, it starts with this offensive line. They create such a big hole for him, but then once he gets to the second level, it's look out. He finds his way to pay dirt once again.
4:38 remaining, and the Eagles have taken this game and broken it apart.
They just blew this thing open.
Hey y'all, today of course it's Matt Rogers on the Honorable Mention podcast, which is a Philly sports podcast. I have today a good friend of the show on with me, OJ Spivey from the Philadelphia Tribune, which is the longest running African American newspaper in the country. Gets great sports and culture takes and different angles on a variety of different things. Brought him on today to talk about the Eagles a few hours after, so we've been able to digest here some of what folks have been saying in the post game. I mean, the Eagles absolutely have taken control of the NFC East after dominating the Commanders on Thursday night. The three guys I would give my game balls to would have been Jalen Carter, Quinyon Mitchell, and Saquon Barkley. Would you throw an honorable mention? Would there be anybody else, or what are you thinking?
I think along those lines, I would have the three game balls. I would throw a little bit in there too, the offensive line, because I thought they were just as great. As far as well, not so much early. They didn't have a whole lot of success early with running Saquon Barkley, but I think later on in the game, especially the third and fourth quarter, when Barkley broke those long touchdowns. I mean, the holes were big as Broad Street, so you have to give the offensive line credit. And what was that? The first touchdown, I believe. No, the second touchdown. Looked like Cam Jurgens blocked the same guy all the way downfield. So that was magnificent. So
brought the syrup for that one. He just cleaned up the guy. So
it was just great blocking all around. I thought you saw what Lane Johnson did, the first touchdown with Barkley. As soon as Barkley got to the sidelines, you saw Lane Johnson put his arm up, said touchdown. He knew it, and Barkley was still, I guess, 20 yards away.
It's incredible. I mean, Saquon is able to just change direction and juke guys out at full speed. Usually you guys have to slow down a little bit, make a move on a guy, re-accelerate. I mean, Saquon's putting moves on guys going 21 miles an hour, 22 miles an hour. It's ridiculous. I mean, if he can sustain this level, I mean, I said this other times, I mean, he's the best Eagles running back that I've had the opportunity to watch. Now, obviously, he's got to put it on film. He's got to have the longevity. He hasn't yet had the Eagles' longevity of a Saquon Barkley. I didn't get a chance to watch Wilbert Montgomery. That's a bit before my time, but I think he's absolutely, the best. He's playing like the best in the league right now, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, give or take with him and Derrick Henry, and depending on how Baltimore does in their game against Pittsburgh, they're going to go back and forth for the rest of the season as far as the rushing title. So just depends on, who secures what by, I guess, week 17 or week 18. And then, you'll have your Western champion then. And just going back just for Saquon Barkley's spot in franchise history. I mean, she's going to shatter the single season record by LaShawn McCoy. He's going to shatter that. So he stays healthy. I think he's maybe less than 500 yards away. If he stays healthy, some people are speculating, okay, oh, you got to preserve him, But what did you sign him for? All right. I'm not one who just okay, you just run somebody into the ground. You look at him as assets or things of that nature. But
He's the
go
team
back.
MVP this
Right, and he
year.
wants the ball. He wants the ball. He wants the carries. Speaking to him prior to the season, when they were getting ready for Brazil and everything, I mean, he is so ecstatic, and he is so excited to be in Philadelphia that he just wants all of it. So
It's awesome. It really is awesome. I mean, he takes off. He on that second touchdown. I mean, he runs into the end zone, shakes everybody, he runs into the end zone untouched, then runs up the sideline, still jumping into guys. I mean, full speed. He's just bringing that exuberance, and that type of stuff is contagious in competitive sports, but as well as life. Just to having a guy like that. So big ups to Saquon Barkley. He's a pretty good football player.
yeah, he certainly is. And just to watch him just get out in the open field, whether it was the first touchdown where he kind of sprinted down the sidelines, or he made that one cut just through the
Mm,
gut, down the middle for that 39-yard touchdown. And he's done this all season long,
yep,
actually. So, and even before that, I mean, he was going to get 100 yards rushing. Just did hard yards inside the tackles, outside the tackles. But I mean, he just brings a different dynamic, and even Jalen Hurts said it even uh, prior to the Commanders game, that he gives a whole new dynamic to the offense. And it's just one of the great free agent signings that um, we've seen here in Philadelphia. I mean, you basically just have to go back to maybe Bryce Harper as one of those
absolutely.
great free agent signings in Philadelphia history. So
It'll have to pay, but we got some time between now and then. Another great free agency signing, since we're bringing up free agency signing, Zack Baun. You get to see up and close a lot more than I do. Obviously, I'm in the DMV area. The home team got cooked up, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. But you get to be there to see Zack Baun. I mean, what is the key? Because this guy is a special teams guy, a situational pass rush guy, who's first team, looking first, second team All Pro. I mean, just absolutely dominating. Him and Dean just been dominating. What have been the keys to his progression?
Yeah, I think Vaughn had double-digit tackles the other night. So, and he's just a playmaker. And the Eagles have just been, it's an unsung playmaker, not anybody that we expected. I mean, he came into, training. He came into training camp or, OTAs as to say, okay, maybe he's a backup linebacker or someone who may play mostly on special teams, and that's basically what he was in New Orleans. But apparently, Vic Fangio knew of Vaughn. He saw Vaughn, and he said, "Okay, if maybe we get him here, he can play for me." And it's really an interesting story, just the Eagles linebackers, period, because you pair him with N'Kobe Dean, and that's against what everybody thought this year, right?
Absolutely. I was throwing
So
around the B word,
right,
bust.
right, but I've
Not
I've said
gleefully, but I
sure.
was kind of resigned to it. Sorry to cut you off, but I was kind of resigned to that he was a bust.
Sure. And, we didn't know how Bond was going to turn out, but obviously, Pro Bowl player, possibly all pro at this point. But the story with Dean was, and I even talked about it, here previously. Um, don't sleep on the Kobe Dean. And
Yeah,
I was
you did.
steadfast in
You
saying
were.
that, okay, let's see a full year. We seen half a season so far, but let's try to see if we can get a full year out of N'Kobe Dean, um, and just see how he plays, because he does make plays. He's made plays.
Yep.
He made plays in Georgia. I know that's a few years removed now. He had issues with missing tackles early on the season, but this is a credit to the coaching staff, a credit to Vic Fangio, believing in the Kobe Dean, and I think that's what these guys needed overall. These young guys needed on this defense. They needed an old school guy who understands talent on defense and someone who can put them in position to make plays. And for the most part, they have done that, especially these past 6 weeks.
Absolutely. Before we go any further, can we say something about the officiating last night? I mean, were you seeing something different from me? I OJ, before the little minor technical difficulty, we were talking about the two egregious, in my opinion, missed face matching calls that could have been pivotal in this game. I mean, you had a really good divisional matchup, two pretty evenly matched team. The underdog was ahead for a good portion of this game. You hate to see a game come down to things like that. Of course, you don't want to be ticky tack, but face masks are pretty dangerous. And are you seeing it the way I am, OJ? In terms of like they just flat out missed it, or
they did.
They weren't.
They did.
Okay.
It wasn't. Well, I will say this: it wasn't your traditional face mask call, and I think that's probably what confused them, or maybe took them for a loop because it wasn't the face mask. But as was explained on the broadcast and explained elsewhere, if you pull any part of the helmet, the rule states that it's a face mask, and it's also recognition too. If you see a player's head kind of cocked back or pulled back or something of that nature, that's a, I won't say red flag, that's literally a yellow flag, right? So they totally missed that. Not only that, but we talk about Jalen Hurts, the rumor is, okay, was he not concussed and he still played? But I mean, he was thrown to the ground several times.
He was.
And there were no calls. I anticipated a physical game, but he doesn't get the type of calls, let's just say Patrick Mahomes might get or what Josh Allen might get. For some reason, he's just not protected that way. I mean, you could probably throw Lamar Jackson in there too. These are guys who they're seasoned veterans now, and they don't seem to get the type of calls that your, again, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, etc., would even get. Maybe not even what a Jared Goff would.
And it makes the comparison to Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts is most apt because they're the style of play. No, Josh doesn't have the same speed, but he plays the same style at quarterback as those guys. And Josh Allen clearly, if he's getting knocked around after he clearly let the ball go, they're not gonna just let that go, and they continue to do that for against Jalen Hurts. It's a shame, but he played really well despite it. I gave him a B on the Philadelphia Sports Table. Our friend Jeff Warren had me on. I gave him a B. What did you give him? What if you had to? What would you have given him?
Yeah, I think a solid B, maybe even a B plus. Because again, all these other fools, all these other jokers on the radio, they're talking about he needs to play better. He hasn't played well. I mean, that's a bunch of bullshit. I mean, did he get an 88 passer rating the other night against the Commanders? Yes. But before that, I mean, he had 5 straight games with over a 115 quarterback rating. That's along the lines of NFL history. I get the stats. I get the emails with all the stats and the communications from the NFL. It comes right into my inbox. And that's one of the things they said about Jalen Hurts. I mean, he was tied with a couple other players, and then he could have surpassed it had he had another quarterback rating over 115. And it's so funny how the cliche, move the goalposts and all.
Yeah.
But, people beg for this man to not have a turnover, right? When
Right.
he's turning the ball, he was good for one, maybe two
That's right.
turnovers a game, right? People beg
Wentz
for that.
watch.
He clean,
People
yeah,
have Wentz
exactly. All that other bullshit, right?
bullshit.
But he cleaned that up. But now say, oh yeah, he's not playing well enough. I mean, what the fuck do you want?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's at the very least, and he's not even. It's not even that drastic to where he's managing the game. He's always in control of the game, right? And the first part, I mean, yeah, did he miss some throws? Did he take a couple sacks? And we see that all across the freaking league, man. We sat there and watched last Sunday night a quarterback who is in his 30s now. We sat there and watched the quarterback throw 5 interceptions, and there was no talk of him coming out of the game. People
Or
still believe,
that team can't reach its potential because he
people
might throw
still
5
believe,
picks again.
people still believe that Detroit will
He
go
threw
all the way.
and a fumble, by the way, that was recovered by the other team. A half a dozen turnovers.
So yeah, 6 turnovers. Can you effing imagine if Jalen Hurts had 5
No.
through 5 picks
5
in a
picks.
game? Just imagine that. Hey, he can't throw one. I mean, passing is down this year. Scoring is down this year for the most part, right? It's a microcosm of the whole league, but yet he's still persevering. He's still leading his team to 6 straight wins. Any other quarterback in the league, especially if he's blonde hair and blue eyes, he would get all the mother effing credit for winning 6 games in a row. And that's the truth. I've watched football for over 40 years. That would be the truth. They would rave about him. If he was 26-year-old, blonde, and blue, just think back of Wentz.
Yeah.
Even when he had his signature year in 2017, and then he brought the team back, I believe, what was that, 2019, to win the division. At 9-7, by the way. I mean, it wasn't great. It was 9-7.
Yes.
Right? Jalen has not had a losing season as of yet. Okay, his worst season was 9-8, and they wanted to replace him. Right?
So he would be literally, he's 1 win from being incapable of this being a losing season. So he's
exactly. I mean, he's 41-19 as a starter. 41-19. All right, and he's won just about every type of way that you can win. Okay, he doesn't throw the ball well. Okay, he's going to be a game manager. Okay, when he does throw the ball well, he still doesn't get enough credit. I mean, people are still asking, okay, can he be consistent enough after a 6-game winning streak? And what else did they say this week? Okay, we'll see how they do when they play a
top
good team.
Right.
And now the
Blow the doors
Commanders are
off
kind of like, oh yeah, the Commanders aren't as good as we thought they were, right? Just because the Eagles beat them.
Right. Exactly.
But
Jaden Daniels was MVP. Jaden Daniels was MVP material, but Jalen Hurts, who dominates that team, is not. He's not even worthy of consideration. He's going to hold the team back, is what the narrative would tell you.
Yeah, just say you don't like the guy, man. Just say you don't like him. I mean, cut the BS. All the other excuses. All these guys on the radio and print or blogs or whatever, they try to be cute and all that other, fake machismo. They still have in their mind what they want a quarterback to look at. I mean, what do you want? 40 points a game? Teams that regularly score 40 points a game, and I'm being, I'm kind of exaggerating here, but what do you want? Are you going to be satisfied if they score 40 points a game, then they get to the NFC Championship game and they can't score 20? I mean, what is it?
Nobody's doing that though. Nobody's scoring 40 points a game. I mean, I sent you some stats earlier, and I'll read these off for the listeners because narratives can take you in the wrong direction if you're not. So since week 6, Jalen Hurts is getting 9.7 yards per attempt, which is second in the NFL. He's got
That's a lot
8
of
touch
yards per attempt. That's a lot of
per
yards.
attempt. Per
So you're
attempt.
saying, so basically, okay, it's always going to be 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1.
8 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, third in the league. 70% completion percentage, sixth in the league. 9 rushing touchdowns. I guess we don't care about touchdowns anymore. And I guess Jalen Hurts is the only person whose body is a magnet for the touchdown, because other teams could score free touchdowns. They get within 2 yards, and those touchdowns don't. Every other team is just declining to score touchdowns. They would prefer to
Yeah,
have their.
they're teams that can't even score from the 2 yard line, whether it's a quarterback sneak, whether it's a tush push, whether you're handing off to the. There's a lot of teams that can't score in the red zone. I mean, just look at the percentages. I mean, everything is there for you, and I'm still trying to understand why. Okay, his touchdowns are minimized because it's the tush push. You still have to get your ass in the end zone.
And they're
I don't
not
care
all
how.
tush push, by the way.
Yeah, they're
They're
not
not
right. They're
all.
not right. But people try to minimize it because okay, that seems to be most of his touchdown. I mean, when did it not become 6 and 1, half dozen and the other? Right? It all
Josh
counts to
Allen
six
does it.
points.
What
Yeah,
about do we erase
but it's
Josh
a
Allen's touchdowns too?
but it's a classic Eurocentric quarterback sneak.
Oh. He's also just, and it takes a level of strength. Every quarterback's body's not built to do that. You wouldn't feel comfortable lining every quarterback in the NFL. They're not putting Kirk Cousins in that. Kirk Cousins isn't scoring on that, and they can have whatever offensive line they want. And so it speaks to Jalen Hurts' talent and his hard work and his weightlifting. And so put respect. I said I'm the guy who said that the last game was a B performance. I give him an 85, 86 on the test. He missed some
Yeah,
throws. He
yeah,
had
it's
some
fine.
drops
I
too.
we
Folks dropped
yeah
passes.
he had a couple of drops early. Devontae dropped one. AJ Brown dropped one. I mean, it all evens out, man. Like what the no. I will have a curse show on your podcast, Matt. But I mean, it's just not making any damn sense. I mean, he's a quarterback of this team. He does a great job being a quarterback of his team. Every last person in that freaking locker room believes in him. Okay, from the top down to the bottom. Everyone believes in him. He's the quarterback. He's going to be the quarterback for years and years to come. You don't have to put a freaking poll question. Is he going to be the quarterback in 2025, 2026? He makes the franchise a whole lot of money. The NFL, for that matter, a whole lot of money. They see all that. They recognize all of that. I mean, all that comes into play. And he can play football. He can play this game.
Eat your heart out, Hurts haters. Root as hard as you can against him right now, because if he gets this
Just say you
team,
don't
not
like. Just
even
say you
wins
don't
a
like him.
Super Bowl, if he gets to a second Super Bowl, the conversation's just it's already over, folks.
They'll think of something else. Them bastards will think of something else because that's just how they are.
And if you guys are attuned to Philadelphia sports media, you know who I'm not going to say no names, but you know who them bastards are.
Some
You
of
know
the
who they
people that don't want to speak when I am in the press box. So yeah, those people. So
Mm,
you know,
mm.
I'm like I said, I'm 52, man. I don't care.
I'm aware you. Most of my friends don't care. All y'all in that, I'm gonna let it fly at this
Yes,
age.
sir.
Well, the talk now among people who do, ingest and care about what actually happens on the field, the talk is about that the Lions and the Eagles are on a collision course for the NFC Championship. I would love to see that. I think that they are the two best teams. Just like last year, especially at this point, I thought that the 49ers and the Eagles were the best two teams. Seems at this point that they are on the collision course. A lot can change between now and then, but let's say that we are jumping there. What do you think of a matchup like that between those two teams?
To me, I think it all depends on the locale. Um, if it's in Detroit, the Lions may have the advantage. If it's at the link, the Eagles may have the advantage. That
Mm,
doesn't mean that either team can
that's right.
go in each other's den, so to speak, and
Yep.
go. It doesn't mean the Eagles can't go up to Detroit to win, and vice versa. Um,
It's
but
worth a possession, though. It's worth the
yeah,
3 for
yeah,
sure.
exactly. But I just think it's important. I think Detroit can beat just about everybody in the league.
Yep. In the league,
Um,
correct. Me too.
everybody in the conference for that, man. I don't want to say the league, so to speak, but I think they can beat everybody in the NFC. As far as the road going to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
I think the Eagles can too. Um, and I haven't seen every game of the Lions to see, okay, do they have slow starts and do they overcome? But they're not perfect either. I just think
No.
they play in a good division, just as the Eagles do. And it took a lot of luck for them to win that game in Houston. Houston should have won that game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, even
The
you put some of the
quarterback turned the ball over 6 freaking times.
right,
You do
right.
not you have to cash that check. You have
Yeah, yeah,
to.
yeah. You have to cash it. So, Houston kind of showed their youth a bit with that.
Yep.
Because if, you'd be looking at two teams who are what, um, 8-2, I suppose. So, but I do think these are the both teams are the class of the NFC, and we'll just see if it comes into fruition. It should. I think people who love football should want to see that collision course, but I'm sure a lot can happen between now and.
Absolutely. They got to still go out and finish the game. Still 7 games to play. Before they get there, of course, to that point, they got the Los Angeles Rams Sunday Night Football. They got a little mini bye here that they're working on. Probably let their bodies heal up after 2 games in 5 days, and then be ready to go to LA. What are the key matchups you're looking at as you kind of mentally prepare yourself for this for next week?
Well, first thing, just going to the kind of what you said, Matt. I think the mini buy will help them a lot because I know they're banged up. Most teams are banged up by this time, but I think the schedule. Remember early in the season, everybody was griping about what was that the was the buy what week 3, week 4, something
Yes,
like that,
yes, yes.
and it helped out then because they had some injuries. They had mostly
Oh,
everybody back.
I think we went 2-2 into the bye. Is that right?
Okay, yeah. So, yep, 2 and 2 into the. So it was week 5. Yeah, right. So, it worked out then, and I think this mini buy is working out now. So, um, but they have a long road trip. They have to go out to LA, and I think the matchups come back down to what the cornerbacks are doing. You know, how's Quinyon Mitchell going to cover Cooper Cup? Gosh, who's the other receiver? I can't think of his name. Uh,
Oh, Puka Nakua.
Nakua, right. So my guess is that depending on, because I know they move Nakua around a lot, but my
Yes,
guess
they
is
do. Yes, they
Quinon's going to
do.
match right up with him. So we're going to see. And
It's
some people
incredible.
think this is going to be a tough game um, going out there, but the Eagles have bowled well
Yes,
over the years going out to LA, whether it was when they
they
first
have.
moved out there, like in the Coliseum. Remember that game in 2017 where they
How
actually
can
won
you
the
forget
division they won the division that day when Scott hurt. And then I think they
my
went out
man
there last season,
Foles?
right?
Foles had to bring
Yeah,
it home.
Purple was bringing it home. And what I think they went out there last season
Yes, they
and
did.
won.
Yes,
So
they did.
and LA's right on the cusp, kind of like flirting with 500 and
That's right.
everything. I don't think they're as good as they were last year. And the way this defense is playing, I think they can certainly get to Matthew Stafford and um, kind of manhandle that offensive line, and they can get more sacks because I mean you can't tell me that. Listen, Jaden Daniels is much more mobile than Matthew Stafford, right? So you
Yes.
would think that they a moving target is a lot harder to a lot harder to get, right? So,
Absolutely.
um,
Yeah, he's
yeah, I would.
statuesque. I mean, I guess he's in better shape now, but he's no Patrick Mahomes or definitely not no Lamar Jackson.
Right, right. But I think the Eagles can go out there and kind of hold their own and win easily out there. I'm not afraid of the LA Rams at all.
No,
Aaron Donald's
no.
retired too, so I mean that's really the only guy they've really had to worry about over the past few years. So they can move the ball on them. Um, so yeah, I think the matchup comes down to the receivers and again the pressure that they can get on Matthew Stafford, and I just check all the boxes on the Eagles side.
Absolutely. This is a game. I'm so glad you said that, OJ. This is a game. This is the Eagles' game to lose. Of course, you could drop one. It's, of course, while you're on a 6-game winning streak, you could go ahead and drop one and lose one. That is going to happen again. The Eagles probably will lose another game this season, and it could happen any given Sunday. But this is the Eagles' football game to lose. They have to figure out a way. Unfortunate, hopefully not, but they have to figure out a way to lose this game. There are just so many different ways that they could just gut this team. The Rams have to play a perfect game, and the Eagles have to play C plus football, C football, and the Rams have to play B plus A football.
Don't let Jalen play C plus football though. I mean, we're not going to want him back in town.
Oh,
But
Donovan played a ton of C plus football on the way to 5 NFC championships and a Super Bowl appearance.
yeah,
I gotta say,
some people look back and say that defense really carried the team, but again, Donovan McNabb did an excellent job at worst
yes,
managing the game. And
yes,
that's how I measure quarterbacks over time. I mean, when you don't play your best, can you manage the game?
yes,
Even if we're admitting or if we're going to play that, play
yes.
along and say, he's not playing his best football. He had to play better, had to play well, whatever. Fine. Okay. Can you still manage the game? And he does that.
And beyond, and even in the
Even
most,
beyond his turnovers, he's been able to
and there are
manage the game.
plays where Jalen is winning the game. I mean, key first downs, running guys over, making guys
Yeah,
miss, extending plays.
it's not that they're winning in spite of him. So
There's
it's almost
no
like
way. Yes,
that's the claim that these jokers are trying to make, that they're winning the defense and Saquon Barkley. And again, I think we talked about this before. How the hell is you you're giving the ball to, you have a cannon, you're going to shoot it, right? So how is that an indictment on a quarterback that you have Saquon Barkley on this team and you're going to feed him 20 times? How is that an indictment on a quarterback? That's just common sense.
and they feed the hell out of Derrick Henry down in Baltimore, about an hour and a half from Philadelphia. They do
And
the same thing.
look how easy that is for Lamar Jackson to navigate the offense. He may very well win his third MVP
That's
because
right.
of that.
That's
And
right.
and they don't have great receivers either. But whether you do or don't, you got King Henry. You feed on the ball. I mean,
Yeah.
both Henry and Barkley have outside shots to get 2,000 yards. Right? They were on pace to do so. But why is that an indictment on your quarterback? Because you want to feed your running back and he's a home run hitter. He can score every time he touches the ball. Why is that an indictment? Oh, they're a running team now. Well, what the F is wrong with that?
Hey,
Again, what do you
do
want?
do they etch it differently? Do they put like an inscription on the Super Bowl trophy? You were the Super Bowl QB of a team who ran the ball
If you
60%
win,
of the time.
right? If you win the Super Bowl 6-3, they don't hold back the trophy, right?
No, no.
What was gosh, what number was it when the year the Patriots beat the Rams and Rams couldn't score a touchdown? It was a 13-3 game. Did they still get the Patriots the trophy?
Yes, they did.
Tom
And,
Brady
and
put up 13 points in the Super Bowl. One of his Super Bowls, he only put up 13 points. I mean, this city will get freaking mad if the Eagles win a game Super Bowl 13-3 because
and
they would want it 37-3 because it wasn't 37-3. It cheapens it. What You still get a Super Bowl. You still get the parade. Like, what does it matter, man? Win the game. Win the game. I'll never forget. Joe Namath. The final score of Super Bowl III was 16-7. The Jets dominated that game from start to finish. I'm crazy enough to go back and watch the whole game, because thankfully it's available not even on film, but the actual broadcast is available for everyone to watch. Actually went back and watched it. It's a bit of a boring game, actually. He threw for just over threw for maybe 206 yards. He didn't throw a touchdown pass. He was the MVP of the game, but Matt Snell, a running back who ran, I think, for 116 yards and scored the game's only touchdown, he should have been an MVP, but that wasn't a great storyline because of the guarantee. But the final score was 16-7. It was 16-0 until, I think, midway through the fourth quarter, when the Colts finally scored a touchdown and they put in Johnny Unitas, who was half injured, right? So we have evidence that Super Bowls can be that boring. The Steelers, when they won the first of their 4 Super Bowls, the final score was 16-6. I'm a historian, man. I know this stuff.
I also know. Yet you do know your stuff. 1, 2. I do know that in Jalen's biggest game of his career, he played his best game of his career, and I don't think anybody can argue with that.
Man,
when the lights were on,
that's how he got
that
his
man
contract.
cooked.
Even in defeat, that's how he got his contract. Because people still wasn't sure, but they got his contract. That's basically how he got his contract. And again, until he gets to a point where he loses games consistently because of turnovers, because of inefficiency, and it's a consistent pattern, right? Until that happens, we can't even think about replacing him or putting dumbass poll questions of, okay, is he the guy going forward? None of that is coming to fruition. Again, 41-19, and it's not in spite of him. It's oftentimes because of him. Okay, who gets the ball to AJ Brown downfield? Who gets the ball to Devontae Smith downfield? Those were tremendous throws. Not every quarterback can make that throw.
And also, Kirk Cousins handing Saquon Barkley the ball on that read option action that they got going there, having Jalen Hurts' ball handling skills with that absolutely is lending itself towards Saquon being more effective. That doesn't just happen because any old quarterback's back there, by the way, listeners.
Yeah, it's a team game. And again, I'm just give another quick example, Matt. I mean, I grew up watching John Elway get to 3 Super Bowls, and people say, "Oh yeah, he got him there by himself." What happened in Super Bowl? He got blown out because it was just literally him.
Mm-hmm.
That only takes you so far. I mean, again, what do you want the games to be? Do you want it to be 45-0, 37-3? That's not football, man. It's
Nope.
not.
That's Madden.
Maybe
have fun doing that on Madden.
Maybe people were spoiled from 2022. And one thing I do want to say as well, Eagles are having fun, as you see with some of the footage and some of the stuff that we see in the locker rooms. They're having fun this year. So that reminds me a lot of 2022. They damn sure wasn't having this type of fun last year. So maybe that's a good sign.
I don't know. That I gotta say, this defense. I don't want to get put the cart before the horse, because that 22 team did get to the Super Bowl and they played well in the Super Bowl. Had a puncher's chance.
This is what I think.
This defense is on another level, though, from what that 22.
This is what I think is scary with this defense, Matt. Look at the ages of all the guys who are making plays.
Oh my goodness!
They either first, second.
They're gonna have to deal with us for 3, 4, 5 more years with this same squad, and then we're gonna pick in the first round again. I don't know if it's gonna be at 20 something or at 32. Hope it's at 32, but we get picks.
Yeah, Quinyon Mitchell was so good the other night that they had to move Terry McLaurin off of him just so he can get a catch.
Two targets. I'm sorry. One
Right.
catch, 10 yards, 0 touchdowns. One of the
And
best
that was
receivers
on
in the league.
DeJean, because I believe they put him in the slot on that play, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Jalen Carter, just incandescent. I mean, he was all in the backfield the whole entire game. I mean, it was one hit I saw. I mean, he almost knocked Daniels into next week, and he didn't even wrap him up. It was just a hit. And I've seen him do this before, right? Um, we talked about Zack Baun, who's probably one of the older players on the team, right?
Yep, absolutely.
But Nolan Smith getting in there, getting the opportunity over Bryce Huff and getting a sack. It's a testament to
what if Bryce Huff heats up for the playoffs? This defense could be on another level. What if Bryce turns a corner? Of course.
They have it in,
of course.
Maybe something they could have in their back pocket and everything, but I mean they're fine without him. I mean, if you have to sit him in lieu of all the money and everything because Nolan Smith is playing better, Brandon Graham is playing better, right? So it's looking like a bad signing that they have to eat.
That's right.
But again, I mean, I want to say I'm impressed, but I'm just so happy for Jalen Carter because he is just really just elevating his game. I know he was good. I know this kid is great. And just going back and just watching the film, I mean, he is like excuse my analogy, but he was just a one-man wrecking crew. And he looks unblockable on film. He literally looks unblockable. And that's when you get into Aaron Donald territory, Warren Sapp territory, even Mean Joe Green territory. I mean, he literally looks unblockable on film.
And especially with JD right next to him, who's just a complete monster of a man.
Who's making plays. And, people are talking about what Nakobe Dean's doing, what Zack Baun is doing. And again, I love that all Dean had to do, we talked about this before, is just wrap up and just tackle well. And he got that, right? But that's all testament to what the boys are doing up front. The Georgia boys are doing up front. Carter, Davis. What Carter doesn't do, Davis tends to clean up, and maybe vice versa. But that opens up the lanes so a Dean and so a Baun can come and make plays. And even C.J. Gardner-Johnson sometimes. Look at what the safeties are doing as well. You look at them short yardage plays, those critical short yardage plays against Washington, the 3rd and 2, the 4th and 2, 3rd and inches. I mean, they are, putting helmets in guys' chins, man.
Absolutely. Let me run down some of it. We spoke on Quinyon Mitchell earlier, so we'll go to the Quinyon Correctional Facility where he's been locking down people. Mr. Drake London, who is
Guantanamo Bay, I think somebody's calling.
Drake London, 1 catch for 5 yards. When covered by Quinyon Mitchell this year. So week after week, we're going to run through it. Drake London, one reception for 5 yards. Chris Olave, 2 catches, 23 yards. Mike Evans, 2 catches, 19 yards. Amari Cooper, 1 catch for 10 yards. Malik Neighbors, 1 catch for 9 yards. Jamar Chase, 2 catches, 16 yards. CeeDee Lamb, 1 catch, 5 yards. Terry McLaurin, 1 catch, 10 yards. Quinyon Correctional Facility. That man is better than advertised.
He's just putting guys in his back pocket, man. And the scary part about it, when you look at it on film, he looks like a 5-year vet, and he's making it look easy. I mean, it doesn't even look like he's
baiting guys.
Hard. Yeah, it doesn't even look like he's running hard. Doesn't look like he's breathing hard. And he's such an easygoing, humble guy, man. And when I interviewed him a couple games ago, I asked him, I said, did you feel the pressure of being a first-round pick? And, the coaching staff, the organization, asking a lot of you, did you feel that pressure? And he said, not really, because, I mean, they welcome with open arms. I mean, just understands the assignment. Um, you saw the respect that he gained early on in training camp from the trash talking and everything against AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and all. But I mean, he's even just off the field. I mean, he just seems like a great young man. And is it too early to say shut down corner? But you just read off the stats, Matt. I mean, he's proven it.
Is it too late to not say it? I mean, people already been put in this car seat. I mean,
right. And even when he makes a mistake, it's not an egregious mistake.
No,
which is crazy.
And his catch-up speed is crazy because he'll be beat. When he is beat, he's closing and sometimes breaking up the pass anyways. That's right. Probably frustrating for quarterbacks in film study.
I learned that back in the day, and I think I remember Deion Sanders in his heyday. He mentioning that all cornerbacks get beat, but how you close in, your closing speed is always what gets you over. So.
Yep. Well, he has it, and all good wishes for him and his health and continued progression. That brother is where I thought he would be by the end of next year already. I mean, regression happens, plateaus happen, but that dude has not even come close to anything that looks like a plateau. He's looking like shutdown. I mean, the difference between him and Sauce Gardner or Pat Surtain at this point, I mean,
you don't even hear their names as much this year, right? And just going back real quick to just put a bow on the defense. Remember I said early in the season how they brought in Vic Fangio to restore order?
They did.
I mean, they've exceeded that order, man. I mean, it took some weeks, but it's a credit to him because he's just letting these young guys cook. He's putting them in position to excel. Again, going back to guys like Nolan Smith and all being a contributor because, people were saying that he was a bust. So, I mean, he could be your starting defensive lineman next year, defensive end next year. He could very well be. And something that I noticed on that one sack of Jaden Daniels, he had so much speed, but he had what's called a dip technique.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy to overcome getting under 350, 60-pound linemen. You got to have speed, you got to have strength, and again, it's all about technique. And
he's explosive. That brother Nolan Smith is explosive.
He is very explosive, and he said before he can't wait to hit the crap out of somebody.
That's what he does. It's good stuff, OJ. It's always great having you on. What are you working on, or what? Plug something that we should go read, either that's already out or something that you're working on in the future.
Well, you can go back to kind of what we were talking about. With Jalen Hurts saying that, okay, this is your franchise quarterback. Deal with it. It's okay to say he's a franchise quarterback. And I broke down how franchise quarterbacks should be looked at. And then my current column is with the Sixers. And as crazy as it sounds, I want Sixers fans to kind of hang in there, and I explain that a bit in my column.
Okay. All right. I'll read it so you can talk me off the ledge, OJ, because
just hang.
I don't even know if I'm still hanging on the ledge. I think I'm all.
Just hang in there. The wait is still just 1 month into the season. I know the record doesn't look good, but just hang in there. And again, the NBA is not as good as people think. I know it gets it tightens up come playoff time.
It does.
As bad of a start this is, the Sixers could still get a mid-seed in the playoffs. I mean, a lot of things have to come into fruition. Georgia's healthy now, and B's coming along. You got to wait till Maxey comes back, which he'll come back in another week or two, another week or so, I should say. And McCain's playing well.
He is.
He looks like they hit there with McCain. Yeah. So just hang in there, Sixers fans. And like I said, you can read about them.
Yeah, I'll have to bring you back to we can talk about the Sixers. Looking forward to it, brother. Well, thank you so much, and thank you all for making time to listen. If you've listened so far, of course you enjoyed the show. Please go subscribe, And go and follow OJ over on all the social media. He's locked down OJ Spivey, OJ Philly, and then over on Facebook he's OJ Spivey, the journalist. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'm also on the Skyline now, so check me out on Blue Sky. Same handle.
Okay. All right, y'all. Thank you so much.
I really think that Jalen Carter, whatever sport he would have put his mind into, he would be a big-time player in that sport. And he's just such a good athlete, and he's able to get to the football. He plays with great athletic ability, plays with great violence when he gets to the football. Made some, everyone will talk about the fourth down stop, but there was a couple plays he made behind the line of scrimmage that put him in the fourth down on that drive, which was a huge stop for our team.